GoogleAdsStrategy.com.
Hello and welcome to the Google Ads Strategy Show, where I answer your questions about Google Ads. I'm your host, Kyle Sellerud, and today I'll be answering the question, why would I use bid adjustments? So first, what is a bid adjustment? If you don't know, this is where you can set a particular percentage, higher or lower, for a particular option within the account, and your bid, your base bid, is going to be adjusted by that amount. So for example, let's say we have a campaign and we're bidding $10 per click. Now let's say within that campaign we've figured out that people on mobile phones do not do as well in terms of becoming customers than people on computers. So what we can do then is go into the devices section and we can set a bid adjustment. In this case, we would set a negative bid adjustment for mobile phones. Okay, so if we're bidding $10 per click normally, and let's say we set a negative 25% bid adjustment for mobile phones. Now, instead of a $10 per click bid, if someone's on a mobile phone, we're actually bidding $7.50 because we've decreased our base bid by 25%. We can also increase bids. So another option would be to increase bids on computers. So let's say we do a plus 50% bid adjustment for computers. So now instead of a $10 bid, if someone's on a computer, we would be bidding $15 for that click. We've added 50% to the base bid. There are lots of different places where we can adjust bids within a campaign. So I just talked about devices. We can also adjust bids based on the schedule. So for certain days of the week or certain times of the day or very specific times of the week, so say a Monday evening, we can adjust bids. We can decrease or increase bids based on the weekly ad schedule. We can also make bid adjustments based on locations. So one example of when you might do this is if you're a business and you're mostly targeting a core area of locations that's really close to your business, but you recognize that you also get customers from farther away. What you might do is still target those farther away areas with a negative bid adjustment on those because you figured out that traffic is worth something to you. It's just not as worth as much as people who are closest to you. So you could put a negative bid adjustment on the further out locations. You can also adjust bids based on audiences. Okay, so if you've added certain audiences to a campaign, which is something that I get in more detail in a different episode, but you can add audiences to a campaign. You can adjust bids for particular audiences within the campaign, and also for demographics. So these are age, gender, and household income. Now, I'd caution you on household income. Google doesn't know necessarily what people's incomes are. I've never really seen a correlation between income and actual purchases. So don't think that you are going to get better results simply by bidding more for higher income, for example. I've just never seen that correlation. Maybe it'll get better at some point, but I haven't seen it. What I have seen are what I have seen correlations for and the actual worthwhile differences for are age and gender. Google has a pretty good idea of what people's age and gender are. So if you have a product or service that appeals more to a particular age group, a particular gender, then it may be worth it to you to bid higher or lower for different ages or genders, or even exclude certain age groups or exclude certain genders. So that's what the different bid adjustments are. And why would we use bid adjustments? Well, I've pretty much touched on it so far. We want to get more of what's working and less of what isn't working. So if we're seeing areas within the campaign that are working well, then it's usually a good idea to adjust the bid higher for those things. If we see things within the campaign that are not working as well, then typically we would adjust our bids lower for those things. So what happens if we adjust bids in a number of different areas? If we are adjusting bids for devices, for schedules, for locations, and now someone meets the criteria for all of these different things. Maybe they're on a computer and we have a positive bid adjustment there, but they're in a location where we have a negative bid adjustment. And then maybe they're also in an audience where we have another positive bid adjustment. Well, all of these things interact with each other. There is a formula I'm not really going to get into here. It's a bit complex and it's not really necessary. Essentially, the bid adjustments are going to all kind of work together. If you have more positive bid adjustments for a particular user, well, then you are going to have a positive bid adjustment overall. If you have more negative bid adjustments, you're going to have a negative bid adjustment overall. If the bid adjustments are about the same, they're going to cancel each other out, and you're not really going to see much difference for that click. Now, I will caution you about adding too many bid adjustments. If it gets to that point where I'm seeing lots of differences, for example, on devices, if computers are far outperforming mobile phones, it's usually a better idea to set up a separate campaign for computers versus mobile phones, because then all of the other bid adjustments that you may be doing aren't going to have such a unpredictable effect on the results. Okay, you can keep computers confined to one campaign, and then you have the different bid adjustments within the computer campaign for the other options, the schedule, the demographics, and that type of thing. And then you have mobile phone traffic confined to a different campaign with a different set of bid adjustments for the other variables. So if you have minor bid adjustments, it's okay. Those can usually be just in the same campaign. It's the big adjustments. If you're adjusting things by 25% or more, that's when I'd start to think about putting those things into different campaigns, because that's when you're going to start to get results that maybe you weren't expecting just because you have too many bid adjustments all over the place. Smaller bid adjustments, I don't think it's worth it to create a whole new campaign just for minor bid adjustments. And usually they are going to be minor bid adjustments. You usually aren't going to see huge differences where you would actually need to have significant bid adjustments. So just keep that in mind. Usually you're fine keeping things in a campaign and then just setting up these bid adjustments, but you might want to separate them in certain situations. So that's what I have to say about bid adjustments. Just another thing for you to have to do in your campaign, right? As if there's not enough already. Now you need to go look at these different these different sections within the campaign and think about whether you need to adjust the bid or not based on how things are performing. But it is what it is. That's the nature of Google Ads. This has been the Google Ads Strategy Show with me, your host, Kyle Sullerud, and I will talk to you later.